Welcome, everyone. Great to meet you all. Some familiar faces and some new faces. Lovely to see that you're from so many places. And I'm in the south coast of Wales in the UK at the moment. So we have a nice stretch across the world. And I'm going to bring a new subject today, one that I've not taught before specifically. And it's really in response to a lot of my work in very complex conflict environments around the world. And just with the consciousness of how overwhelming it can be to be bombarded by so much complex news, rapid transition and change, really a deep sense of there being so much polycrisis in the world. And I've been studying with Thomas Hübler. I don't know if you know him. He is has really pioneered very in-depth collective trauma healing and runs a project called the Pocket Project, which is a wonderful project working in the Middle East and in places like Ukraine. But really, they're there to really facilitate how we can come together in deeper layers and levels of consciousness. I've been studying a global witness facilitation training, and I'm very excited to try and explore how global social witnessing can be brought together with expressive arts. So this is the first time I've run this workshop. So we are on an experimental journey, if you're up for it, together. And it's going to be very interactive and experiential. So we will go into the subject and learn together. So let me take you into it. So what is global social witnessing? This is the definition that Thomas Hübler gives. It's the capacity of the human heart to remain open and present in relation to the suffering in the world. And in one sense, this is, I think, a very key hallmark and roots within the whole field of expressive arts and expressive arts therapy. How we can stay present, how we can bear witness, how we learn to bear witness to the other, and with our bodies and hearts and minds, turning towards rather than away from. And in this case, we're considering away from the challenges of our time, away from the things that might feel overwhelming, where they might feel like we might feel a sense of despair or hopelessness or rage or grief that may be disabling us rather than enabling us to come into action and response. And this is really a perspective of being present, bringing our whole presence to whatever we are facing. And so we learn to resource ourselves to self-regulate and co-regulate, to start befriending the world by befriending ourselves. And that sense of we are learning to regulate our own nervous systems, but also we're doing that in community and doing that collectively and doing that together. Which I believe is really the way we need to go towards. And I think that's what's so exciting about this festival, is it really is bringing that sense of collective response to all sorts of issues that we're facing. So for our time together in this group, I want to start with a poem. It's a way of really considering how we might create a brave space together. I've been learning a lot about from people who are in places like Palestine and Gaza of their, when there is no safe space, how we can cultivate courage of heart and bravery in places when there is no safe space. And I really prefer this word brave space. I think it is real, and it shows the reality of that actually for many people, there is no such thing as safe space. So this is an invitation to a brave space. Together we can create a brave space, because there is no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars and we have all caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world, and we amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know, and we will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. It was a poem that was written by Beth Strano on the back of a door that Mickey Scott-B-Jones adapted. And I really like this as a way of us considering the reality of us coming together on an online call like this. And I know you've probably done lots of workshops so far, and I don't want to make any assumptions about how important it is that we can choose how deep we go into any training process. And we can take responsibility for ourselves. Okay, so these are like our anchor experiences and anchor images. When we ground into a sense of brave space within us, then we can really find the baseline of our nervous system. We're just going to do a little bit of a exploration of the nervous system just for a moment. Many of you might have studied this polyvagal theory. We're not going to go a lot into the theory of the nervous system, but the good news is we all have a nervous system, and we all have the same nervous system. It just responds in different ways. So this is across culture, gender, you name it. It's part of being a human being. So I love the fact that this breaks down all the barriers between us already. And like this image, there's this incredible network of neurons, not only in our brain, but in our gut, in our bodies, that's constantly sending signals, which is how our bodies work and how we respond to the internal sense of the environment and also the external sense of what's going on outside of us. And I believe also, like we learn from the plants and the trees and the mycelium under the ground, we're in an interconnected nervous system between our humanity around the world and interconnected into nature, as we've been just exploring through that meditation. And our nervous systems moves between that sense of safety, which is the ventral vagal system, when our nervous system is relaxed and calm. And I'm sure for most of you in that meditation, you felt a sense of that, right? Even if you were a bit stressed before, you were trying to get somewhere, or you've got a lot going on in your life, or maybe the place that you're in, the context that you're in, may not be a safe environment, as I said earlier, maybe a complex environment. But when we kind of come down into calming ourselves and coming into our breath and into our bodies, we can regulate our nervous system and find that ground. We can mobilize, our nervous system can be mobilized as the sympathetic system comes into effect when we need to act into the world, when we need to respond, when we need to have that sense of that healthy stress that kind of makes us do things, makes us be in the world. But also it can begin to mobilize us in ways that can be, move us into a difficult state of fight or flight, a reactive state. And also, of course, if there's increasing threat, our nervous system just begins to shut down. And it goes into what's called the dorsal vagal system. As there's an increasing threat, it can really shut down and go into a freeze state, or sometimes a flop state, where we literally cannot respond. And there's a big theory in polyvagal theory, but I just want to just open up just gently and lightly this subject, because I think the more that we can understand what's going on in our own nervous system, we can be able to navigate what happens when we are experiencing any form of crisis, but in this case, how we respond to collective global events. So we're not trying to change our state, but we're aiming to witness it and to bring compassionate awareness to our embodied response. So it's like that sense of my nervous system is going to respond to something. I can learn to deactivate it. I can learn to regulate it, but it's wired to do that. And what I need to do is not try and say that's not okay, or why am I doing this? And I must make it different, but it's accepting it first, bearing witness to our own states within us, bringing that compassion towards ourselves. So that then we can also understand ourselves and why we're reacting in a certain way, and then learn how to regulate. So I wanted to ask a question. What is the polyvagal chart graph showing me before and after the meditation we've just done? This is a very, many of you may have seen this, or you might not have seen this chart. It's very simple. There's lots of words in it, but it's just very simple. There's a green area at the bottom, which is when we are in that relaxed ventral vagus nervous state, when we are experiencing safety, grounded, we're interested, we can be creative, we're open-hearted, we're relaxed, we're motivated. As soon as our nervous system gets activated, we can make things happen in the world. But as it gets more activated, or if we start reacting, it can move into the flight, away from the threat, which is where we can get panic and worry and anxiety and fear, fight. We move towards anger and the energy of action and fighting. But there's still a sense of agency. We can respond. And then the top part is the blue area is the freeze part, when we are feeling overwhelmed, stuck, blocked. And it can go into very extreme states when we feel hopeless and we cannot function anymore. And this is how our nervous system works. It's also, when you think of animals, that's how animals also respond. It's our animal self in a way. Animals respond to a sense of threat in sometimes very similar ways. What we're doing is we're witnessing, right, what happens to us in any state at any time. And there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment in that. It's just becoming aware, right? Because we've gone from this beautiful, peaceful place and this sharing of these images, and then we're talking about nervous systems, and that already may have brought you out of that state. The most important thing is that we're learning to be able to listen to our bodies. Yeah.